Hello, everybody. Tim McCormick here. Thank you for coming on to our training today. I appreciate it. Always happy to be talking to you guys and looking forward to giving you guys some guidance on a way that you guys can improve your marketing. I mean, every one of you, of course, is doing something different. You're all very different. Each office is run differently and you have your own set of decisions. But what I want to do is give you a set of things that if you haven't done it already, you go back to basics and so you knock through some basics, make some quick decisions, and then I'll give you specific steps to take in order to ramp up and boost your marketing. If you do these, you will see immediate results. And you're gonna have to bear with me a little bit because I'm not gonna go straight to tactics because tactics are useless and unless you have the right strategy or specifics or any strategy at all. And I'm gonna go through quickly the steps that you need to go through in order to have a strategy that makes sense and works for you. I'm happy to answer any questions along the way, so feel free to jump in. I did mute one person, Jeff, because it sounds like you're in a coffee shop or something, so some background noise. But if you type into the chat or click a little button, I'd be happy to unmute you. I love interaction, so even though I will talk a lot, feel free to jump in. Okay, so anyway, today, a short set of specific decisions and tasks to quickly boost your marketing results. Let me jump into this. All right, that's the same thing over again. First, let's go through the decisions that you guys need to have made. And I have said these on other trainings. Some of these I'm going to say in a different way and hopefully break through for some of the people that haven't done it yet, because hopefully by the way they say it, you're going to understand the importance, and we'll get right into it. So the first decision you want to make is you want to choose a target product or product mix. And the order that I put these in can be somewhat reversed because every office is different. So we may start with a product mix or target product, and as you go through the steps, you're going to see, you know what, this next step I have a very strong answer for, which is actually going to go back and change my first answer. So don't feel like it has to go sequentially, but when I look at it, it's best to start. I believe you're going to have the most success by starting with the goal of what fundings you want to do most often, because whatever the product or product mix is, you want to be super familiar and strong with it, and you want to make sure it's one that's going to make you the most money. All right, if you were to pick, I'm not going to say a specific product, because if you're going to pick product 8, whatever the heck that is, if you're going to pick product 8 and then you see through the course of this that you're going to have to do 32 a month in order to really cover your costs, then maybe it's time to go back and switch from product 8 to product 3 or whatever. You get the idea, right? We have a wealth of different products that we can provide here. Most of you start just by default with liking one or a couple products more than others. So that decision, most of you have probably already made this decision. Now, of course, you want to know about all the funding, and we're always here to support you across all of them, but don't try to boil the ocean and know everything. Be really good at something, so start with your specific product mix. Second, after you've chosen your product mix, you want to choose your target client. And more specifically, you want to pick both an industry and a geography. You don't have to do both. Some people will just do a target geography, but if you do a target geography, you're probably going to have a much broader product mix. So for example, if you are going to be servicing a specific town in Alabama, and it's a smaller town, you're going to need to know really well everything from SBA loans to MCAs to startup funding. You're going to need to be broad-based. If you are instead targeting a specific industry, manufacturing, for example, then there's going to be different types of funding that are relevant to manufacturing. Equipment is obviously very strong. Term loans can be strong, but then you're going to need to go a little bit further and pick a size of the business. You're going to look for manufacturing companies that are doing less than 10 million in revenue or whatever. Until you choose your product and then choose your industry, you can't get into the subsequent questions that you really, really, really need to answer, and that is within manufacturing. Are you going for plastics manufacturing, or are you going for automobile? Whatever it is, those decisions have a huge impact on what product you're going to be offering and how much money you're going to make and whether you have access to it. So start with a target product, then pick an industry and geography. Honestly, I would rather each one of you start with an industry and a geography because it's easier to figure out how to market to manufacturing companies in Alabama than how to market to manufacturing companies everywhere in the United States. when it comes to figuring out how am I actually going to get a hold of manufacturing companies in Alabama, those are easier decisions than how do I get a hold of manufacturing companies everywhere, right? So I hope you guys are seeing why making this decision is going to make it easier for the market than what you're probably doing right now. So once you've chosen your product mix and your target client, and please be specific, you can always broaden it. It's easier to expand it than contract it. Then you want to choose your target situation. And you cannot, I mean, well, you can, right? You could do a target situation, but you are going to be way more successful on your target situation once you've already got a product and a target client. And I'm going to go into a little more detail on each one of these, but so I'll come back to it. But when I talk about a target, well, I'll just get into it now. Target situation would be something like, let's say you are targeting the credit card program for startups, and you're going to go to the industry is you're going to go to, for example, every startup incubator in the United States. Now, that's not a geographic focus, but there's probably not going to be that many incubators in one area. So you want to go for startups, and you're going to go after incubators. Well, that's the situation is new entrants into the incubators or people that apply to the incubators that are declined, which is going to be 90% of people that try to get into a startup incubator are declined. And if you can work a deal with the startup incubator where they refer those people to you, or that's their soft turn down is, sorry, we can't help you right now, go get some funding from this company and come back when you get a little bit of traction. Now that's a target situation. And this target situation is going to be very different based on the product mix and the client, and that's what I hope you want to hear. If you go back to the manufacturing example, maybe you want to offer term loans to manufacturing companies. Well, who's going to want a term loan? You'll know that term loans are one of them. It's a little harder to qualify for, and you got to be doing well. And how do you know a business is doing well? Maybe you look for businesses that are hiring. There's a target situation, is now you look for manufacturing companies, you start looking on job boards to see which ones are hiring, and then you target those. Hey, I see you're hiring 3 more welders. Is it possible you guys need some growth capital in order to fund your expansion or whatever it is, you got some new products? That's a target situation. There's lots of different target situations. For example, for a long time, we did franchises. We prospected franchises and said, hey, send people to us every time they are interested in opening a franchise with you. That's a target situation. Now, how did you get there? First of all, we started with saying we want to ramp up our retirement rollover product, the 401k product. We want to focus on ramping that up. And how are we going to ramp that up? Well, it's very common in the franchise industry. All right, well, now we know we want to go after franchises in order to offer retirement rollovers. Well, do we want to go after every single franchise? No, we want to go after people that are starting a new franchise. Boom, that's a product, a target client, and a specific situation. Now, if you want to go after that person, you know exactly what to do. You're going to call franchisors and ask for new people to sign up. Until you do the first product mix and target client, you can't know that situation. You would never even think to do that situation. Now, you may be thinking, oh, I'm going to skip all that. I'm just going to start calling franchises. Well, that's fine, but that might not be a strong avenue for you, and that's what we're getting into next. The next step is the best way to hit a target product, target client, and a target situation is by having a specific target agent. So in the example I just set, I have a target of going to franchises and have them refer people to me. Now, that's an awesome one because those people can't even get paid. So those are agents I can sign up where I never have to pay them, and that's more money in my pocket. So whatever your situation is, maybe it's manufacturing companies that are hiring, or let's say technology companies that are hiring. Well, a lot of them use recruiters because it's difficult to find people. So you can go around to recruiters and say, hey, every time you get somebody who comes to you to hire somebody, tell them, oh, if you're looking for extra funding, we can refer you here. Now your target agent are technology-focused recruiters. And you go specifically look for finance agents that are technology recruiters. Now you have a specific agent targeting a specific situation in a specific industry with the goal of ramping up funding in a specific target product or product mix. That is magic, all right? That's magic sauce right there. That is how you make a lot of money consistently over time. In the beginning, it's going to be hard. You're going to start off, it's going to be difficult. You're going to think, wow, how do I start, getting into this industry segment? But it's better than having no industry segment at all and just sort of floating around waiting to see what agent signs up and what opportunities they bring to you. If you guys just sit back and let agents sign up, you're going to get all sorts of opportunities that are going to come your way, but every single one's going to be different. It's going to be harder. You're going to have to learn the lingo. It's going to be years before you're good at that. Alternatively, if you choose a target agent, target situation, target industry, target geography, target product mix, you can, within a month, learn the lingo on all 4 or 5 of those things and come across as an expert. And the first successful client you have is now an example for every other client that you sign up who fits that mold. In fact, the second one, now you have 2 examples. The third one, you have 3 examples. Every single successful client builds your portfolio and reputation within that target agent, target situation, target client, target product mix. That is the fastest and best way to not only succeed, but create a competitive, protected niche for yourself. All right, after that, the last thing you want to do, the absolute last thing, is choose your tactics. Now, I say that after I tell you to choose your target agent, because using finance agents is a marketing tactic. But maybe instead of choosing a tactic for marketing, you're choosing your tactic to find those agents. So what is your specific tactic for signing up tech recruiters? Well, when you're doing something that specific, it's relatively easy. Well, you say, where do I go find technology recruiters? Well, there's probably industries. Now you go hook up with an industry, meet somebody there, buy a list of tech recruiters in the US and start calling them up. And yeah, they're cold calls, but again, as soon as you sign one up, it helps to sign up the next one. It helps to sign up the next one. The whole point of what I'm saying is, if you follow the steps above, it's the opposite of what a lot of people want to do. You follow the steps of picking these things first and coming to your tactics last. The tactics are easy. If you don't do those other steps, you're sitting there trying to figure out how you're going to market next month, and the tactics are murky and impossible, and you're going to pick 2 or 3 tactics, and they're not going to be supporting a specific strategy. They might be conflicting each other, and you're setting yourselves up for struggling for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and then maybe getting frustrated and quitting because you're not getting a consistent deal flow, what you need in order to pay the bills and ramp up and grow an office and have a real successful environment. All right, so those are the decisions you have to make. Once you go through those decisions, here are some specific steps that you're going to do in order to build on those decisions and make it a success. All right, so here are the steps. First of all, modify your website. If you're with us, you have a website, and you may not know that there are ways that you can modify it. So I'm going to go over those with you. You can modify the headline and the bullet points. Well, there's really 3 things. First of all, you could choose what is your primary landing page. A lot of people I've noticed have defaulted to just the default landing page, but there are 2 other landing pages you can choose, which give you more things that you can modify. In fact, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I would recommend every single one of you to switch to landing page 3, or sometimes internally we call it the 2-step, because you can modify the headline and bullet points. If you're using the primary default landing page, all you can modify is the headline, and it is somewhat inappropriate if you're doing a lot of real estate deals. So again, you got to know your target industry and product mix in order to be able to make this decision. But if you're doing a lot of CRE or real estate, you definitely want to switch to the other page. Other people, it's a decision. Do you want to modify the headline or modify the headline and the bullet points? Do you want to have a question, the steps, the main landing page has a bunch of steps you knock through, boom, 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 boom. Or on the other landing page I'm talking about, it's just 4 questions, first name, last name, email, phone, and submit. You're going to get a higher conversion rate by using that other landing page, even though it looks less pretty and there's less on it. So there's that. All right, so modify the landing page. Here's a form that you can fill out to do that, but I'll show you some examples of people that have modified their page. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, here's an example of the standard landing page that our offices get. Of course, the logo can be changed and the colors, that's all done for you. But this headline, tell us about your business and we'll find you funding, that is the default text. There are 2 lines here. You can modify both lines, and I would recommend you do so. Here's an example of someone who modified the lines a little bit. Instead of tell us about your business and we'll find you funding, it's tell us about yourself and get your next funding now. Next funding is the business name, so that is the reason that he made that choice, and it looks nice. But you can modify it more than that. Here's another office that changed it more. Funding local business, growing rural communities. And this is because this is an office who is doing a targeted local geographic focus. He could have gone further to specify the geography that it's in if you wanted to be real focused. It's up to you how much you want to put that in your headline. But again, this is modifying the headline. This is landing page 1. Here's an example of landing page 3 or the 2-step. In this one, he still has the default headline, tell us about your business and we'll find you funding, and the default bullet points here, but this is just so you can see that the page is different. I can't really scroll down, but this is a very short page. The other pages were long, and you'll notice, like I said, first name, last name, email, phone. You're going to get a higher conversion rate, and you can modify these items. Those are the items up close. This is the default. Here's someone who has modified the items because they focus on a lot of real estate. That's why it was smart for them to switch to this page. And rates as low as 5%, A to Z credit accepted, commercial investment property, no income verification loan, 100,000 to 10 million. You can make those points be whatever you want. And if you know your product and you know your industry and you know your tactics, you're going to know what to put there, right? Again, if you're going for manufacturing companies that are looking to get new equipment, then you say, we help manufacturing companies finance their equipment purchase. That'd be your headline. And then you make a bunch of comments about equipment down there, how easy it is to get approved, how manufacturing companies love you, those sort of bullet points. Make your headline and your bullet points relevant to your target audience. Everyone, if you haven't done this, right now you have the best lukewarm page you can have, right? It's a decent page. It's got decent bullet points. They're generally attractive to most people. But if I am a manufacturing company looking to finance my equipment and I look at a page that talks to me and a page that's lukewarm, and I have to choose which one to fill out, I'm going to fill out the one that talks to my needs better, and the other guy's going to lose out every time to other customized pages. So I'm just showing you exactly how you can customize your page to be a better fit. And here's a close-in shot of those modifications. Here's another one. We fund due diligence fees for investor and commercial real estate. This is very specific, right? Don't be afraid to get super specific. If I've learned anything over the years, it's this. You could put up something super, super specific and other people will still fill out the form even if it's totally irrelevant to what they want. So if you put in we fund due diligence loan, and I'll get somebody who's going to fill out this form asking for $100 million oil refinery in Suriname or for something in Nigeria. Who knows? People don't even, you're going to get people to fill out the form anyway. But the people that are really good, that are looking for something specific, they may not. And those are the people you want to capture because you're going to beat out the other guys. All right, so let's talk. I'm going to go in a little more detail on target client just to give you some examples. Again, industry or geography is really important. Situation, tactics. Let's talk about why, right? Your messaging is going to be different if it's local versus national. If I am a local business in Montana, Butte, Montana, and I see somebody, we help fund businesses in Butte, I'm going to be more comfortable working with that person than somebody who you've got a picture, it looks like New York City, and maybe I don't trust people in New York City, right? So if you're local, that's a great angle to take. You could actually meet people in person. You could put local specific things on your webpage. You can put a Yelp listing and get local business that way. There's local things you can do that are great. Make those decisions so that you actually know what to go do. If you're focusing on nationwide business, don't bother doing a Yelp page, right? The decisions you make will determine your tactics. All right, so here's an example of why you want to know these questions. If you went out to a marketing company to do a lead seller, you wanted to do a data purchase, they're going to say answer these questions. Why do they have people answer these questions? Because otherwise you don't know what you're shooting for, right? What industry are you looking for? What number of employees does a company typically have? That's important, right? You probably don't want to market to companies that have 100 to 200 employees. They are very established and they probably have great banking relationships, and our services aren't real good for somebody who's looking to do a $20 million equity round or something, right? We are great for companies doing, say, less than $10 million a year, typically less than 50 employees. And then also the type of funding you're shooting for might really be good just for startups, right? And that's why you got to make those decisions before you get to the data purchase. So industry, sales volume, single location versus a chain. Are you looking for individual guys that do auto body shops, or are you looking to fund a Meineke? You know, they're very different, and they would ask these questions if you're doing a data purchase. All right, here's another reason why you want to know your target product before you start doing your marketing. This is a list of tier 1 industries for working capital loans, right? Notice right on the top here are restaurants. Well, if you are going after SBA loans as your target product and you market extensively to restaurants, you're going to have a tough time. Regular banks hate restaurants. MCA companies love restaurants, right? So know your product first. That's why I said let's pick your product first before you get into your industry. But you could flip it, right? If you don't really care what product you say you have 3 products you really like and you have really strong ties in a specific industry, then great. Let's start with the industry and work backwards to the product, right? So it doesn't have to be in one order, but just make the decisions in some order so there's a logic to it, and you could avoid making mistakes like doing a bunch of marketing to restaurants when you know you're very unlikely to get a restaurant deal. So tier 1 industries, tier 2 industries for MCAs. You got firearms on here. I mean, it's some of these things are really hard to get in other venues. I don't see, car sales, great for equipment finance, but tough for a lot of other things. So you get the idea. And then there's some industries you just can't help no matter what. So make sure to know what those are before you pick your focus. All right, again, when you're thinking about the industry, and this is, again, one reason why you might do this first instead of after the product. If you have good ties or you really know an industry, let's talk about it. We may find that that's a very difficult to fund industry, and that could be a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes difficult to fund is good if we have good sources for it. Sometimes difficult to fund is bad, right? Like if you want to target dentists, they're the easiest industry to fund, and so the competition is really fierce. You got to have a good, strong in, or I might say, even though it's easy to fund, the competition is too strong, you're not going to be able to make any money. So, it's a discussion you need to be having with us or your partnership manager on site. You want to know, is it fundable and can you compete? Those are two contrasting questions. And how tightly can you segment it? Can you segment it to the point where you can get your message through to somebody? All right, situation. We'll talk about situation a little bit more. I went over most of these before, but good target trigger situations for growing companies for SBA loans would be hiring employees. Or somebody who's expanding the business would be somebody who's purchasing inventory or software or talking to a commercial leasing broker looking for a new, larger location. That's a great person to get referrals from for growing companies. Alternatively, if you're focusing on working capital loans, you might talk to somebody who is in a retraction industry, or you might purchase trigger leads for people that have just missed a payment on a loan or something, right? Know your trigger situation is going to be dependent on the product you're going after. We look for market changes. Now, specific market changes might be, if your focus is yard care companies, then you're going to have lean times and good times, and you're probably going to get a lot of your clients during their lean times. To make sure you're really strong during those, and also reach out to the companies before it gets into their downturn so that they're ready and thinking about it. And so when money does get tight, they come to you right away, as opposed to, so know your industry in order to set up your trigger situation. Tactics, you guys will know, there's a lot of different tactics. I strongly recommend starting with what you already know. And beyond that, I really strongly recommend working with finance agents and not spending money in the beginning, because the finance agents will bring you deals without creating risk, and spending money is immediately creating risk. But beyond that, the tactics to find the finance agents, they're pretty straightforward. There's a lot of things we could do. We can go over those in another call, but just like I said before, once you've made the other decisions, the tactics are relatively easy to figure out. There's lots of different ways to market. A lot of these cost money. Finance agents is an investment of time versus money. So all of us have time, and not all of us have money or can afford to lose money. So that's why I recommend investing sweat equity before cash. And that's it. You know, that's really a summary of what I want to make sure everybody's doing. Please go through the steps. Be careful with your cash. Plant seeds in your agents. Invest time, and you will see that come back to you. Make sure to treat their referrals like gold and appreciate the work that they're doing for you. And that's going to help you succeed. Remember, knowledge is credibility. Whatever these decisions you make sure to be up with the lingo and understand the situation before you jump right into it. Know who your competitors are, know who you're marketing against, know what the benefits of your key product are before you start talking to people, because that's going to help you in order to be able to speak to what their needs are instead of speaking to your needs. You want to speak to their needs? Yeah, not your needs. Your needs are getting deals funded and getting paid. Your clients don't care about your needs. They care about their needs. Focus on their needs so that you can serve them and serve your needs at the same time. So be an expert in your product mix, be an expert in your target situation, and know the names of the programs, understand the requirements, and all of that together will help you build a roadmap. All right, so in review, know your industry, know your situation, know your tactics, and then the goals and everything comes easily after that. We're happy to work through this with you. I'm going to be putting this into a worksheet that really every single office should fill out. I've had people email me when I asked the other day, what's your target focus? And it is understandably, I haven't gone over this enough with you, and I've got stuff that's all over the board. I've had people list, 2 or 3 products without a specific industry, and I'm hoping that you see from this that you could say, oh, I want to do these couple products, but if you don't know what to do next, then you need to follow the steps I just mentioned. Ryan, I haven't created it yet. I'm putting it together the next couple days. We should get it out next week sometime, and then we'll, I'll do another call and we'll go through it together, make sure you guys understand exactly how it works, and we can discuss some of the conclusions we've all come to. One of the things I love about the structure we have here is that we, as finance agents, we have tons of different offices, and because you guys all should be focusing on these different market segments, you're not going to get a lot of crossover. You're not going to be banging heads or competing with each other. It's the last thing we want to do, because if somebody's focusing on manufacturing in Alabama, somebody else is focusing on debt settlement in the Northeast, or you should be able to have plenty of business without ever bumping into each other in the marketplace. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and wrap it up for the day. Thanks, everybody, for everything you do, and appreciate you working with us, and we look forward to doing a lot more deals together.